Good evening, dear friends. As you know, our heads have a certain weight. How much do you think your head weighs as of today? In the modern world, the weight of an average person's head reaches almost 7%. That is, if you weigh 100 kilograms, your head will weigh 7 kilograms. Can you imagine? Well, do the math yourself. How much do you weigh? Share the weight of your head in the comments. Let's see which of the subscribers has the heaviest head. The formula is calculated like this: 7% of your body weight. Well, let's take the average weight. Let's say 5 kilograms. 5 kilograms. How much should a person weigh for that? You can calculate it yourself. Figure out the formulas. So, that's a significant weight, you have to agree. And our neck muscles, the neck itself, are under quite a lot of strain. That is, if you take a 5 kilogram dumbbell, for example, or a kettlebell, or something that weighs 5 kilograms, lift it and try to hold it. Well, lifting it a few times is not a problem, but holding it statically is quite difficult, even if you just take something that weighs 5 kilograms. For example, this dumbbell here is 1.5 kilograms. That's several times less than 5. And you see, I've already stretched out my arm. It's quite hard to hold this weight. But the most interesting thing is physics. What does it offer us, this science? Levers, so-called, which were even used in the construction of the pyramids. So, in general, look, if we have the weight resting on a support, that's perpendicular to the surface of the globe. If our support is perpendicular, like this you see, perpendicular to the surface. In this position, this lever allows me to hold the weight more easily than in this position. That is, for example, if I move it a little forward, the load on the muscles will already be greater. If I move it a little more forward, even greater, and even more forward, even greater. So the maximum load is on my muscles and yours too. It's about this position. And if the position of your neck and head deviates, in this case, the load on your neck increases many times over. So, your head weighs 5 kilograms. It rests on the neck, and the neck muscles hold it right here. But if the head starts to move forward, then those who are good at solving physics problems know that the angles change here. So the force increases, something gets added, and basically the weight becomes almost 50 kilograms. And with each new one, to be set. So by changing the position of your head, be set, your neck already weighs 150 kilograms. Set, well, of course, it doesn't actually increase that much. Yeah, not 150. But let's say here, okay, let's make it more realistic. Let's use more realistic numbers like this. Well, anyway, you get the idea. Here, the load on the neck muscles is less, and here it increases. Basically, what does that mean? It means that if we keep looking at our phones in this position all the time, our head will stay like this. That means it should strengthen our neck. But if we overload the muscle, especially with some kind of static load, gradually this muscle starts to get injured. That is, if we trained our neck and did it in sets, giving the muscle time to rest. For example, if we held it in this position, then lifted it, meaning we let it get tired and then allowed it to recover, our muscle would gradually recover. But if we constantly start loading the muscle without giving it a rest, processes related to muscle overload begin to occur. This is primarily inflammation. When we overload the muscle, it starts to get injured. It starts to get injured in different places in the muscle belly area. As we know, the muscle consists of several parts. The muscle belly and the tendon part, both can be injured, and microtraumas like that occur. If the muscle belly is injured, it's generally not that bad unless it's a massive tear. It recovers and sometimes even becomes stronger. That's basically what strength training is all about. When we slightly damage the muscle itself, it then hypertrophies, but we need to give it time to recover. If we overload it, the inflammation process becomes chronic. A tendon requires more time to recover. If we slightly tear it, the tendon will take a very long time to heal. Attachment points where tendons are attached to the periosteum also take a very long time to heal. These places become inflamed.
Aging doesn't just appear in your joints or back, it also shows on your skin as loss of firmness, fine lines, and wrinkles. This is what happens to your skin as you get older. But all those issues are exactly what Okowa is clinically designed to address. And with my exclusive coupon code, you can get a 15% discount. As a doctor, when it comes to visible skin firming and facial rejuvenation, I often recommend Okwa. Proper skin preparation is essential. First, cleanse and dry your skin, then rub it between your fingers. The texture is lightweight. Apply it especially near the eyes and on the cheeks.
Look at this side with Okowa. It's smoother, tighter, more lifted, and even glowing. My natural skin wrinkles, and the difference is clear.
With consistent use, women notice reduced fine lines, a more lifted appearance, and improved skin quality over time. Scan the QR code or click the link below. Use code Alexeyev15 and get 15% off.
And the muscle sheath, the fascia, is also located between the muscles. These places too can sometimes become inflamed in some way.
It's called fasciitis, myositis, and tendinitis.
If this process repeats many times, if there's overload, it often happens like that, Struktur. But this especially happens in the area of tendons because they need more time to heal, and fibrous growths form around the structures. Most often these are tendons. It can also happen in muscles, but this problem is more troublesome in tendons when connective tissue appears around them, which interferes with the movement of the tendons and causes pain. Knee. With chronic tendinitis or tendinopathies like this knee, the connective tissue starts to compress the tendons, knee, and when you move, it causes inflammation again, knee. How do you treat it? Well, by combining different procedures. Maybe physiotherapy is needed to reduce the inflammation, and sometimes even anti-inflammatory medications might be necessary. But the most important thing is to restore mobility and gradually regain the elasticity of all the tissues surrounding the tendon itself through exercises, as well as the mobility and elasticity of the tendon itself. But we shouldn't let it get to that point. We need to prevent all of this. Keeping these things in mind, we understand that there are certain muscles that get overloaded and experience strain. So, what should we do to relieve the tension from these muscles? What gets overloaded most often in our neck? Where do we feel the tension? In the shoulder area, right? What gets tense there? Many people think that it's the trapezius that gets tense, and in a way they're right. Well, in short, let's say the trapezius gets tense there, but there's also the levator scapulae muscle that gets tense. So in this side area, there are two muscles that hurt and get overloaded. The trapezius muscle, which often gets overloaded because it's weak. Often, because of weak deltoids, the arm works excessively, and sometimes there are problems with the acromioclavicular joint. It's often unstable and moves around a bit. This little joint here also causes tension in the trapezius muscle, but at the same time, that's also a result of the weakness of this muscle. The levator scapular muscle gets overstrained because of the weakness of the long neck extensors. In short, to relieve the tension in these neck muscles, including the suboccipital ones, what happens is that our trapezius, levator scapulae, and short neck extensors get overstrained, while the long neck extensor is weakened. This is a group of muscles that includes several muscles, the splenius muscles, the long muscles, and a few others that are combined into one group called the long extensors. It starts from the middle part of the thoracic spine and ends at the occipital bone. It covers all of this area. You could say that your head is supported by them. If they become weak, everything else starts to get overstrained. Therefore, in order to relieve tension from the neck muscles, we need to transfer this tension to something else. There's a principle that works in muscles. There are muscles that perform movements in opposite directions. For example, one muscle bends our arm. So let's say this is our flexor. Well, that's the biceps, or here the brachial biceps. But let's not complicate things. And there's the triceps on the other side. When the biceps is tense, the triceps is relaxed. If the triceps is tense, if we tense it and keep the tension, at that moment, you'll feel that the other muscle becomes soft. It's resting at that moment. And we can use this principle to relax something for ourselves. But not always. Interestingly, these muscles are on different sides, but often they're on different sides. For example, our goal is to relax the trapezius muscle. To do this, we'll tense the latissimus dorsi. You can also tense the pectoral muscle, the lower part of the pectoral muscle, to relax this part of the trapezius. To relax the levator scapulae muscle, well, here too, that is, you lift the muscle and the scapula and the trapezius muscle. So to relax them, we need to tense the latissimus dorsi and the pectoral muscle. Let's see which one works better and how each affects them. But as a rule, you can actually use both, then both will relax.
Next, moving on.
The muscles at the back of the neck. There are long extensors. There are short extensors located right here between the first vertebra and the occipital bone. And there are short flexors. Ideally, we need to tense them so that the area back here relaxes. So we basically have two options for what we can do, estival. We can simply relax the tense muscle and it will relax for a while. But then we need to make sure that the reason it was overworked doesn't affect it again. So let's do both of these things now. First, let's start by relaxing the trapezius muscle. Very often, many people have this problem, tension right here in the shoulders in the trapezius muscle. Now I'll show you how to relieve this tension in just a few, almost seconds. Many will say, "Thank you." And I'll say, "You're welcome." Because as a result of this impact, many people who have this muscle tense will now feel relief, relaxation of this muscle. So for this, we'll need a rubber band, which you'll attach right here. at the top. You can hold it by the handles or you can hold it like this, that works too. But here you have two options. Either you hold the handles so that your palm is facing down, or you hold them like this with your thumb pointing up. What do you do next? Bend your arm slightly. You can keep it straight, but a slight bend is safer. If you're unsure about your resistance band, it could be too stiff. And now you make a downward movement right here to start with. Make the movement in this direction toward your thigh, toward your leg. You grab the resistance band and then pull it like this right here. This is the kind of effect you get after stepping a little away from the wall. And at this moment, what is tensing up for you? Here your lat muscle is tensing up and the lower part of your chest muscle is also tensing. The chest muscle and the lat are both engaged. These are the two major muscles. Besides them, a few others are also working, but these are the main ones. Now, at this moment, right when they are tensed, what happens to the trapezius muscle? It can relax because the load shifts to the muscles that can take over the stabilization of the scapula at this moment. Although neither of them is directly attached to the scapula, but due to their tension, you can feel it yourself. If you put your hand here, you'll feel how your shoulder area, this region, relaxes. Now, if you slightly change the movement and do it not toward your thigh, but a little forward like this, then the angle changes a little, and here compare, make the movement forward and then make the movement a little backward. So the first one goes to your thigh, the second one a bit forward here, and the third one a little back here. And when we move a little forward, the trapezius muscle will relax more here because this lower part of the chest muscle will be working harder and automatically the trapezius relaxes even more. If you move a little back like this, the latissimus dorsi will tense up more and the trapezius will also relax. But the muscle that lifts the scapula will relax even more. These methods are very good to use when you feel that your neck is too tense or your head hurts. So when I move a little forward like this, my chest muscle tenses up here. As a result, the trapezius relaxes more. Here I move a little back, the latissimus dorsi tenses up and the trapezius relaxes, but the muscle that lifts the scapula relaxes even more. This happens due to the change in the position of the shoulder, the arm, and the tension in the latissimus dorsi. So, with these actions, you'll be able to relax your neck muscles much better than if you just stretch them. What's wrong with stretching the muscles? The problem is that the muscle remains tense while you're trying to stretch it, and the attachment points move farther apart. This tense muscle might relax or it might not relax at the moment when you're trying to stretch it. It might get injured even more depending on your luck, but when you tense something else instead of this muscle, it will relax whether it wants to or not. It has no choice, because for the antagonist to tense up, all of this has to relax. Try it. If you've had problems with the tension in your neck, you'll immediately feel a very good effect. And now the most important thing. This is all good. That is, we've relaxed what was overloaded, what was tense. But now we need to make sure that the cause of this overload is eliminated. And we need to work on these muscles, the neck extensors, which would be able to withstand even a multiple increase in weight when the head is tilted forward. For this, there are many different exercises, but here Here is one good example. You take a roller, it's better if it's soft, with a gentle consistency, so it doesn't press too hard on your head. You place it right here on the wall. Place it comfortably. And now you touch the wall with your buttocks and rest the back of your head on the roller. Feet on the floor, lift your buttocks off the floor. Put them down again, lift them up. Put them down again, lift them up. Just like that. From 5 to 10 repetitions. If you feel your neck is straining too much, start with 5 repetitions. How do you increase the load? Move your feet a little further from the wall, but don't rush it. So you set them, press your head, lift your pelvis, set your position, press with your head, lift your pelvis. If it feels too hard, move closer to the wall, move closer, set your pelvis down, lift it, set your pelvis down, lift it. If it's still hard, even in this position, move even closer and find the position where you can handle the tension. This is very good for strengthening the neck extensors, even after just one set like this. Notice how the position of your head changes because the neck extensors are getting toned. For many people, they haven't experienced the necessary load for a long time. They've only gotten used to stretching. And most importantly, the most dangerous thing is to stretch your neck like this. In other words, it's not recommended to pull your neck this way, only if you have an exceptionally well-developed neck extensor. But such people are rare, and they usually don't have neck problems. There's a similar way to relax the muscles in the lower back area. That is, just like we instantly relax the shoulder together right now, you can do the same for your lower back. You can relax a tense lower back in the same way. Shift the load to other muscles, for example, to your abdomen. If you're interested, let me know. Next time, we'll do this. How to instantly relax your lower back muscles, just like we did with the neck muscles now. Well, have a great evening once again. I meant until next time.